Good afternoon and welcome to NYFP. On this Friday afternoon, major U.S. stock averages are all higher by at least half a percentage point. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has also recovered the 14,500 level today. Joining me on this Friday afternoon is Peter Cardillo of Rockwell Global Capital. Peter, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me again.
Nice to be back.
Well, here we are on this Friday afternoon. There's some cautious optimism regarding Cyprus. It has been quiet on the economic data calendar, and the clock is ticking for Cyprus to come up with a plan. So what can we expect over the weekend?
I think we'll probably see that they're going to accept the EU bailout plan. It might be somewhat modified. I think, they have no choice, and I think that the hard line taken by Germany is going to soften in the sense that there'll be a tax on deposits, but probably at a lesser rate. And so that helps them to get out of this crisis and keeps them within the Eurozone. I don't think anyone really wants any of its members within the EU to depart. And so I think the hard line taken by the EU and the ECB was to basically soften the terms going forward, and that they probably will be accepted. So I think that'll be some good news. It'll be a relief to the market. But I think we have to really focus on one thing, that the markets have believed all along that this was not going to mushroom into a real chaotic situation for Europe and the euro itself. And the evidence is that, yeah, we've had some pullbacks, but the pullbacks have been minor. And I think the pullbacks that we've seen here in the American markets were basically more geared to technical factors as opposed to real worries over Cyprus.
And speaking of market support, since we've spoken, we had the Fed rate decision as well as the FOMC forecast and Bernanke speaking. Now, next week, Bernanke will be meeting with the IMF chief economist as well as the Bank of England governor in London. Can we expect anything of significance out of that meeting?
No, I don't. And it's quite obvious that, the FOMC, again, basically came out with its communique that was very similar to the ones in the past. And I think that, while the economic numbers are improving, and there's no question about that, I think the real fear that the Federal Reserve has is the effects of the sequester. And speaking about the sequester, it's just a matter of time now that Mr. Obama, when he gets back, will put his signature on the stopgap bill, and so we don't have to worry about the government funding its bills until September. And I think that that's in itself suggests that perhaps Congress is going to get serious in making some real good long-lasting cuts and reversing the sequester that could negatively impact economic activity. And that brings us back to why I think the Federal Reserve went out of its way, that is the FOMC went out of its way not to indicate an early exit of the stimulants or a reversal of the balance sheet. So, all things being equal, I've said this many of times and I'll repeat it again, liquidity in the market is a powerful drug for the stock market, and that's the reason why we don't see any real major correction just yet.
Okay, Peter. Well, thank you so much for joining me. We have a lot coming up in the holiday shortened week next week, so thanks for analysis ahead of the week.
My pleasure.